Whenever you're ready, I am too.
Okay, so I've got it shared to Amazing at Home, and of course, I'll share it other places later. But I know you've been pretty active in Amazing at Home, so I at least wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to see this. So, everybody, we're talking with Talor today about specialty retail and the opportunity. So many of us have products, and we're mostly selling on e-commerce because it's the lowest barriers to entry, and it's very easy to launch. It's easy to launch on your own website. It's easy to, well, some people would say it's easy. Others are saying, what do you mean, Amy? It's impossible. I'm having such a hard time with it. Sometimes Amazon can be difficult, but I met Talor online, and he really just had so much knowledge. We got a chance to talk. We got on a call together, and it was just like instant synergy. And I couldn't wait to work with him. You guys know that I invented a product, and I have been working very hard. I've sold thousands on Amazon, and I've helped so many brands do the same thing. And my next step is expanding into more retail channels. And when Talor told me about specialty retail, and of course I knew about specialty and big box retail as well, but he has so much intimate knowledge in this area that it's really, it's like going to someone like me who knows a lot about Amazon and can really help you get going. This is the guy that you want to go to learn about how to expand into any type of brick and mortar channels. So Talor, let's start off just talking a little bit about you. Tell our audiences, your audience as well,
Yeah.
a little bit more about you and your background.
Okay, so I started my path, my road, my business issues. I started it back in Japan around 1999. And but to make a long story short, I started selling and working with Walmart and BCBG and Max Azaria back in 2003. I was living in China. I was producing for Walmart. I was a direct supplier of them. Going forward, I was a supplier of Costco in 2005, where I created my own private label of electronic products. It was a very good success, both in Canada and the States. I was happy. They were happy. And I was moving with other offline department stores during the year. And actually, if you count them during the years, I think I worked with like more than 60 different retailers, department stores. And I find that this, and this is why we're up and live today. I find that one of the best things to do when you have a private label or you have a line of products and you are heading to private label, you're starting to do your branding and you're starting to do brand awareness and you're starting to create some more of let's say design wise greater products than what everybody else is doing, and you start really to see that you have like a small baby here, a business. Now you start selling on Amazon, and you're gonna, you go on that road, or that on that crazy road on Amazon or the other whatever online platforms there out there. And I assume that most of the people, and if they don't, then they're gonna think about it today. But I assume that most people think like, what's gonna be the next step? I mean, I have the products. I'm working with China. I know how to produce. I know how to move stuff from side to side. I'm already inside all these things. Now, for me, everything here is new in the last couple of years because I live in production worlds for since 2003, as I said, since I've been, starting in China. And now seeing all these, thousands and thousands of people starting to know my language, which is, where to ship and freight forward their FOB and so forth, and, 3PLs and external warehouse, inner warehouse, whatever it is. Although there's also a language, an Amazon language, which I don't know, but because I don't work online, but I'm happy to see all these people know so much, so good about this, about what I do, what I did for years. And then I think that the next step, the best next step to do is to try and see if you can sell your stuff also offline. Because all right, you're online, you have presence, it's nice, it's good. And why wouldn't you, take the line that you created or the product that you created and go and sell it in other channels? And there are a lot of other channels. You can do dropship, what people, as far as I hear, are doing. Maybe less in these days, but because it's not really going so so good in these days. But if you want to go for like a real business, then the retail is real business. Just to mention quickly in numbers, Amazon takes, and this is like verified information. It's not something that I think. It's like this is these are the numbers. Amazon is holding 6.5% out of the retail market, while the other 3.5% is other online channels. It could be eBay, it could be all these big websites and everything. So the other 90%, which is like the majority of the market, the other 90% is coming from the offline, from the retail. Now, the retail doesn't have to be only department stores, like Target and Costco, Walmart, Macy's, all these guys. There are other channels, and one of them, wow, eventually we're talking about it. One of them is specialty stores, and that's
So
why
let's, and I know Taylor, you could talk about this stuff forever. Like we would need to be live for a month. At least to
please,
even like
please.
dip our toe into some of that knowledge. So
I'm just so that I thought about it. People are being isolated with the corona, so I thought, if anything happens and I'm going to be isolated, I just need my camera and computer so I can, go live at least. Break.
exactly. And that's what's great about having an online business, unless you are being affected by stock right now, right? I'm lucky
Exactly.
that most of my product is warehoused in the United States and I have plenty
Awesome.
of supply. But let's talk about what, we just talked about how 90% of retail is not online retail. It's offline, it's brick and mortar, and so of that 90%, there's all kinds of different retail channels. And one of them is specialty retail. But what does that mean? Can you give some examples of
Sure.
what a specialty retailer is and why we would consider specialty retail before getting into other channels of retail?
All right. So I'll start from the second question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The best thing to do by going to specialty store is to get to know the market, because if you're going to go later on to department stores or to chain stores or whatever it is, bigger business, you would have to know the language. What are they talking about? It's the same way that you came to China the first time and the supplier said, yeah, it's a EXW or FOB. And you said, what is this? What is he saying here? The same way there's also a language on the offline. And that's why it's better to start from a place which is easier. And that place is definitely specialty stores. Specialty stores is a term usually referring, at least, in retail business, referring to a standalone store, from standalone store up till 3 or 5 or maximum 8, 10 stores, like a mini small chain store.
Okay,
Now,
so a bigger chain store, like in the United States, for example, a bigger chain store would be something like Ben Franklin Crafts,
right.
right? Something like that still you'd find in like a strip mall, but they have hundreds of stores, sometimes thousands. So that
Right.
would be more of like a chain. Is that considered a chain retailer? I believe,
Yes, yes, it is.
like a
If you
small
look at,
chain.
yeah, yes, it is. If you look at Neiman Marcus, for instance, which everybody knows, Neiman Marcus is holding only 42 stores. And, I hear that name, Neiman Marcus, so much. And if you wouldn't know, you would think that they have much more than that. And 40 stores
Yeah.
is definitely a department store. And why is that? What makes the difference? When are they stopping calling themselves, specialty stores and saying, no, we are a department store? It happens when they are starting, to expand around the country. It means not only east or west, but vice versa, and north, south, everywhere. This is one thing. The second thing is that they start and taking places that are not just a small nice store at the neighborhood or at the street, but something like a little bit more I would say respectful. Okay, not that the others are not respectful, but in terms of size, in terms of show off, it looks
And well,
different.
and I guess also a specialty store with just a few stores around the country would specialize in something,
Exactly.
where a department store like Neiman Marcus would really, you have a lot of departments. You have men's clothing and women's clothing, and you have jewelry, and you've got perfume, and you've got shoes. Well, a specialty store is probably just shoes or probably just jewelry. And, they're very niche. So it's a very niche market. So that being said, you know, anyone who's kind of starting us, you can kind of think of those of you who have private label brands, and you start to kind of add to your line, you know, and when your line gets big enough, you could almost have your own brick and mortar specialty store, right? You could add in a few more brands and you could stock the shelves. And let's say that you're a private label, maybe you would do jewelry. You know, you could start with your own line, and then you could add in some other brands of jewelry, and you could have your own small specialty store. And maybe you start with one location, but you think about that, that one location, their one line of products is not enough to fill a whole specialty store for jewelry. So now they have to go out and they have to find a way to buy other products to put on their shelves at a wholesale rate so that they can make a profit, and they would sell their own line, and then they would, you know, get some more. So some of you who have products out there would make really great buys for these specialty stores that are looking for products for their shelves. So how do we get in contact? And I know, like, I don't want to give up all the goods because Taylor's going to be speaking at the Inspire Virtual Summit about how to get started with specialty retailers. So, but you know, really, when these specialty retailers need to fill up their shelves, what do, Taylor? How do they do
So
that?
yeah, so traditionally they would go to exhibitions, to shows, not Canton Fair, not shows in, not in capacity like that, but rather stuff like New York Now, for instance, which is not big, not small, but quite quite wide in terms of categories and everything. And they do so from two reasons. One, because they always want to be exposed to new stuff. Now, let's take an example how they are being exposed. Let's take a small specialty store in New York, for instance, um, Ricky NYC. All right, I worked with them quite a while ago, and I remember that because they had a lot of cute stuff in the store, for girls and for a little bit for women, but mostly for girly stuff. Everything was like pinky and purple and with a lot of shining stuff and everything, but they did pop. They didn't do anything that was electric. Now they went in a show, and they were looking for new stuff because they understood that somewhere around their counter there is more space where before the people check out they could sell something else more there. And that was like there's a term says a white space, so that was their white space. At the end of the day, it was funny because I reached out to them and not them to me. And we both been to New York Now show, but we haven't met there. We understood that, afterwards. So anyway, what they did is that they started buying from me because I had a line of wearable tech accessories, and they started buying that from me. And the reason they bought it is, well, first of all, it was very cool, and we had a lot of different designs and variations, and we made it something that looks not just, oh, here's another Bluetooth. No, it was totally different than seeing another product that everybody has. And well, that was the first reason. The second thing about going to shows or about doing other stuff is that it's hard for them as much as it is for us to go and check online for private labels. Because if you go on Amazon today, well, obviously you can go on Amazon and you can apply through Amazon to different line owners, right? And if they do so, they would most probably go to the big ones that they see, in the beginning. In the same way that the customer goes and sees, there's like 10,000 reviews. All right, I'm going to buy from him. It's the same thing with them. They don't, that most of them are not selling on Amazon. They don't know the platform the same way that I don't know it because I don't sell on Amazon. I sell offline. I understand offline. And that's where all this specialty store issue comes in terms of what I want, to talk about, because I'm talking about not them approaching us, but us approaching them. And they are sitting there and waiting for that, because most of the time when they go Amazon or just sourcing online or going even to exhibitions, usually they would see, well, from medium to large labels. And if they go to work with large labels, usually their quantities is not good enough, or they don't have enough power to stand in front of them, or the label would tell them, yeah, all right, so these are the rules that we work by, and it wouldn't match them
So
Yes,
what
sir.
you're
That is
telling
correct.
me is that there are all of these brands that are that have really great products, just like you had some really awesome wearable tech that was very innovative and cool. And we have
Right.
all these really great private label sellers who create these great brands that would be a great partner for these specialty retailers. But these specialty retailers are going to these trade shows because that's really the only place they know, and they don't know how to get in touch with all of these sellers on Amazon, right? And so, and they don't know, when you look on Amazon, you don't know what kind of seller that is. You don't know if this is a brand owner. You don't know how to contact them. You don't, like, that would require a lot of research. So, these people, what I'm understanding that you're saying is that they're going to these trade shows, but I remember another friend of mine, Tony Ivy, she's the owner of OmegaNet Inc., and she helps small brands start their own wholesale websites and
Hmm.
sell online to buyers like specialty retailers who want to buy from them. Um, and the thing that was really apparent, Tony and I were walking around the Dallas market together, and we were talking about these booths. I mean, they're really fancy and they're very expensive. So
Right.
the brands that are in these booths at these trade shows, like you were mentioning, Taylor, they have larger minimum order quantities. They might have higher price requirements than somebody like this smaller chain store who's just looking for like something to fill up the white space on their counter to make a few more orders. Maybe
Right.
they just want to test a product and they're not ready to go all in, but they would love the opportunity to be presented with cool products that would meet their store requirements, but that they could develop a relationship with a private label brand owner, like one of the thousands that we have in our network. Am I getting that right?
Yes, definitely you are. I mean, if you look at a small business that starts with products, and supposedly let's imagine that he wouldn't have Amazon. If he wouldn't have Amazon, he would struggle, to get his products out there and to show them to the world. Now he has Amazon.com, so what's the big deal? Just go online. You have to struggle with whatever it is, PPC, or I don't know what you guys struggling with, but still, you have the platform. Now, on the other hand, and it's very, very very, very a similar thing to that, where they are coming, as a store or two or three different stores, and they want to buy goods. They want to, suppose you have a place like a hiking spot, all right? And a hiking spot usually would have a store or even a couple of stores, at the beginning of the spot, just, to people, well, obviously would come in and they want to buy stuff that they forgot to bring from home or they didn't even thought to bring, a thing to bring and everything. So a store like that, suppose that you are approaching them and you're saying, hey, I'm a small label of hiking poles, or I'm having, like a very cool headlamps and I can sell them to you, most probably you would have a very positive comment and business with them, because if we weren't there, they would have to buy from the big labels, which are usually two or three of them, Maglite, and there's a couple of different names, but and they sell quite expensive in terms of, as you said, minimum order and stuff like that. And you, as a private label, that has your inventory either on Amazon or even better on external warehouse, you can manage, you can live with 20 pieces, 200 pieces, 500 pieces. You're fine with that, and
Mm.
for them it's like a great thing that you approach them and they didn't even had to spend flight to see you in the show, or they didn't have to spend too much of sourcing and everything. You are reaching them, you are doing the step, and they're actually not sitting and waiting, but they are receiving it in a very welcoming way, and I've seen that happening a lot of times.
So we are 13 days to this Inspire Virtual Summit, and I can't wait to hear your presentation there. I can't wait to learn how to approach a specialty retailer. First of all, I think all of us are going to learn from you how to find those specialty retailers that might be a good fit for approaching them. And then
Right.
the getting how to get started with the approach. And I think that that is going to be so powerful for our audience, because this audience, I know them, They are incredible. They're incredible brand owners, and they love their products, and they're excited to get them out there, and they want nothing more than to expose them to as many channels as possible by a profitable means. So
Right.
I think it's really exciting to think, hey, maybe from this one presentation, we could learn to get into our first specialty store and, to just open the door. And then
Right.
from there, where could that take us? So I really hope that there are so many people out there that are wanting this information, are excited about getting into specialty retail. I know we have right now, there's a ton of people watching. So across all the groups. So it's awesome to have you guys here. I'm trying to think of any other questions. Give me another example. Taylor, didn't you used to have some specialty stores yourself? Didn't you used to
Yes.
have some special?
Yes,
Tell
I
us
did.
about Tell us about one of your specialty stores and how you opened it and how you went about that.
All right. So about how to do the whole process and everything, we're going to talk in the next live. But what I want to tell you about today is, when I was selling specialty stores, and I still am with a couple of people. When I'm saying selling, I mean when I sold my own products that I had them, my ownership on the products and everything. Um, well, I had like the retail website, the normal Shopify, which had all was organic traffic. And I believe the most of the traffic arrived not only from department store that I worked with, people knowing the brand, but very much of them, I mean, quite a lot of them came from the specialty store channel because I started, with like a couple of them and then I understood the potential and I understood that usually they're ordering somewhere in between $300 to $5,000. That's the orders, capacity. So I thought like, okay, so I have a bunch of like 3 or 4 of them here. So what happens if I bring like 20 or 30 of them? What happens if I reach out to 50 of them and I manage to sell them? It's going to be like, another 50 to $100,000 income a month, which is quite easy because I thought, after I do the whole process, rather than talking with people or sending fax or doing emails and stuff like that, I just gonna be after I do that, I'm just gonna build the same Shopify that I have, but a Shopify for wholesale, and then I'm gonna link it to my 3PL, and boom, that's it. I did the hard work, and now everything has to to work for me, and that's what we're gonna talk about in our live. And actually, I did work with I don't know something around 100 different specialty stores. It's funny, I still have on my files like thousands and thousands of stores, list of stores, because if you count them in the states, there are like I don't even know the number. It's like
It's
it's stupid
insane.
enough.
Yeah, I was looking it up just for my own. My first, I was looking up 10% of, no, sorry, 1% of pet related specialty retailers in the United States for doing my research to get into specialty retailer. And it was like 125 stores was 1% of the stores that I was aiming for. And I believe that
Wow.
was only in my region was 1%. Like in the
Right.
southern United States, in my
Right.
region was 1% of all specialty stores was 125 stores. And I'm like, I can totally do that. I can do 1%. So it just starts with one. So I can't wait. I know that this is very possible. I know there are so many people in e-commerce who have products that have become saturated on Amazon, but would do so well in specialty retailer. And why not have that opportunity? You have a product that isn't doing well, that you're paying warehouse fees, storage fees on Amazon, and you have all these opportunities if you only knew how to approach specialty retailers. So I can't wait, you guys. I hope to see you at the Inspire Virtual Summit. We've got the link there, and it kicks off in 13 days. So excited to have you, Taylor. So excited for people to learn this critical skill for their brands. And we will see all of you guys at Inspire. And
Yes.
you guys are gonna see more of Taylor too, because he's around. So ask your questions, and excited to have you. Thank you, Taylor, for being on today with us.
Thank you for having me, Amy. And just just heads up for our next session in the Inspire. The whole thing about specialty store is to know how to do it properly. Once you know how to do it properly in terms of steps, it's going to work. But if if you're going to think, oh, okay, that's a good idea, let's try, then you're losing time and money for nothing. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. How are really things supposed to be happening? And thank you for having me today.
Yes, I know you've definitely piqued people's curiosity, and I'm excited to see the questions that are going to come out of this too. And I'm
Definitely.
even more excited to see what people are going to start doing with the information that you give them at Inspire. So, all right, you
Awesome.
guys, we'll talk to you soon. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Amy. Bye.